Hi everyone, welcome to Highlight and Diffuse. Today we are going to take you through a journey on how to create dimension within your solid colored clients and create that pop that you want. There are a few things that we need to do before we get into our application. We need to determine our model's natural level, and we need to decide how light we're going to go and what we want to create. So our client here has a very textured haircut, so we want to make sure that we accent that, as well as make sure she's got the pops and the dimension that she needs within her haircut to really make the haircut show. Also, her natural level is going to be around a level 6, and I've used our natural level finder to actually find that. So this is a great tool that comes in our color books that can help you determine the natural level and give you a great way to start. Today we are going to be using our Sophistone collection. I'm going to be using Elite Powder with 20 volume, and I'm also going to be using 6GC from our Demi collection with our processing lotion for her low light. Let's get into it. We are going to start in the front two sections and then work our way back. I'm going to start working on my application. I'm starting in my front section at the hairline. I'm going to be working in diagonal back sections up the head, and we're going to start with a fine baby light and a tease. Go ahead and take a nice fine baby light. And with the baby light, you want to be able to see through it. So I think that's always important. So if you kind of have this thick section, that may be too much. So I like to kind of pick up again, and then I'll go in and just pick up right on that surface there of the subsection, lift up, and then once I think I've got it, then I'm going to go ahead with my foil. I'm going to apply. And everything we're going to do today will be isolated in foil to some extent, so we won't have to worry too much. So we go ahead, and I like to close this up in a very traditional way, so nothing too crazy, no triple foil type of things, nothing like that. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take this, clip this out of the way really quick, and I'm going to take this bottom section because I really want a lot of pop at the hairline, and I'm going to just go ahead and back comb right here. So I'm just going to continue to back comb. I want to create a little bit of softness. There we go. And then I'm going to take my lightener, apply to the foil so that it sticks, and then I'm going to go ahead and saturate these ends. Now for me, when I work, I like to do one side and then mirror what's happening on the other side. Okay, then I'm going to close this up. Same way. Making sure that I'm leaving a little bit of air, not closing that up too tight, okay? Okay. I'm going to take another diagonal back section, and then I'm going to keep applying up the head. So I'm going to take another fine baby light, leaving about, I would say, 1/4 of an inch in between. Now I'm going to place that down. Go ahead. Saturate that hair thoroughly. And I'm going to close this up. And then if you get any slipping, you can go ahead and just clean that up. Just like that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a little bit of negative space. So I'm actually not going to put a back comb here. I'm going to continue to go and foil with that diagonal back section. another fine baby light. Keep working up. And what I'm trying to do is I'm really working to get that pop around the face. Now, in this case, I'm not necessarily looking to get a money piece per se, because she's got that fringe in the front. So the money piece is not going to be so flattering in this case. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, flip this foil up, and now here's where I'm going to actually go ahead, and underneath of that, I'm going to actually place in my low light to help kind of blend the sections and diffuse. So what I'm going to do, go ahead, paint in a little bit of my low light, and then I'm going to use my lightener to saturate the ends, and then I'm just going to feather up into that to get a nice blend, and then I'm going to close once over the lightener so that I don't disturb that, and then I'm going to close again, and then here we go. And this is all about kind of being visual and understanding where you want to see things. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and take that diagonal back section, go here, and I'm going to take a nice fine baby light here, and keep going. Now, once I start getting to the short areas, I'm going to start to pivot a little bit so that I can get that fringe as well. Here we go. Perfect. Close this up. Keep working. Now here's where I'm going to pivot, and then we're going to start kind of working towards the center. Now I'm up to our fringe area. I'm going to start working horizontally, and I'm going to head towards the back of the head. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a really fine baby light, and I'm going to actually start with this. I'm going to go ahead and foil that in, and I'm going to place this in. Now I'm not going to add too many lowlights in the front of the head, because obviously this is where I want to see the brightness, but just where I feel I need it is where I'm going to add. Now that's probably going to be a little bit more in the longer hair, so as you're starting to move towards the back of the head and the fringe is getting longer, I may place a little bit of a low light in there just to add a little bit of dimension there. Okay. Now I'm going to continue to do the same thing, taking a nice fine weave there. I'm going to use my foil, isolate that, and get this really nice and saturated. Also, so you make sure that your foil stays put, and then if you need to adjust, you can always go back under, place your tail comb in, and push that right back up to the root so that you make sure that you're getting it really nice and close to that root area. Then I'm going to take another slice, and I see here that the hair is starting to get a little bit longer. So once I get to where I feel like it's getting pretty long, I then will pop in a little soft low light there. So I think we're probably maybe 2 foils away from that happening. Once again, and then what I like to do is I will do a double fold so that the client can actually see, because I think it's also about comfort. Okay, here's another one. Go ahead, take a weave there. Place this right in. Okay. Now I do want to leave off with my light on top. So after I do this foil, I'm gonna do a little bit of a diffusion. So I'm gonna go and take another slice. Here's where I can see that the length is getting longer. I'm gonna go ahead. Now that I see the length is getting longer, I'm gonna go ahead and slice this. Go ahead and place my foil down. I'm going to actually low light a little. Now I do want to leave a little bit of the end. And then I'm going to go ahead, add some lightener there. Make sure that's blended too, so blend, so you don't get a solid line. And then close this up. Cool. Now I've got one more here. I'm going to take another fine slice. And then I'm going to do a slice. And then I'm going to actually go ahead and give this a little bit of a tease. And the reason for that is I actually don't want this to be so solid here and at the root. So I'm going to go ahead and put that tease in there. And then I'm going to add my lightener. And then I'll just go ahead, take my comb out, close this up, and then we're all set to move to the other side. So now we're on the other side of the head. We're going to work up the same way that we did, using a diagonal back section up through our front hairline that we've sectioned out. And we're going to make sure that she's vibrant. So once again, I'm going to repeat what I did on the opposite side. So if you guys missed it, I'm going to do it again. So we're going to go ahead and do a nice, really fine baby light. And I always say, in a lot of cases, less is more, because you really are able to get the results that you want. So I was always told, it's not about how much you put in, but it's also about where you place it. And so I think that that's something to always remember and to take into consideration when you're doing hair color. You know, it's not so much about how many you put in, because to be honest, sometimes they can get really solid if you're putting a lot of foils in the head. You lose the dimension. It's something to consider. So now that I've put that one in, I've clipped that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and do a nice back comb. Get that out of the way. And then I'm going to take my foil. I'm going to apply some to the back of my foil for saturation. Then I'm going to lay this down. Saturate this in. Okay. Remove my comb, and then I'm going to go ahead, lay my foil down, and close this right on up. Okay, then I'm going to lay my foil on top. Now, I'm going to go ahead and move on, take another diagonal back, clip this out of the way, and then I'm going to go ahead, this is a little big for me, so I'm going to take a little bit more out, clip that out of the way, and then I'm going to go ahead and take a nice fine weave. Now we're going to leave a little bit of negative space out. So this is just going to add to the dimension a bit, what's left out below this foil. And then I'm going to go ahead, place the lightener in, close this foil. If I need to adjust, I can always do that. Go ahead here, close this up, same here. Then I'm going to let this out. I'm going to take another subsection, diagonal back, and I'm going to go ahead, nice fine baby light, and then I'm going to go ahead, lay this foil in. I'm going to take my lightener all the way to the end with this one as well. Just like that, making sure it's really nice and saturated. And I'm gonna go from here. I'm gonna go ahead, push that back up, close this foil down, and then close this one in. And then I'm gonna move this out of the way. And then I'm gonna take this here. This is gonna become a little bit of a low light. Take this, add my pinch of my low light to diffuse. And then I'm gonna go ahead and brighten up those ends. Fold this over my lightener to protect that, and then close that up. And we're set. And then I'm gonna continue to work up to the top of the head. And just like we did before, once I get to the fringe area, I'm gonna work horizontally, heading back to finish out that hairline. Now we're at the fringe area. I'm going to go ahead, take a nice fine baby light horizontally, and we're gonna go ahead and start to add some lightness into the fringe area. So here we go here. Now, once again, like I said before, we're only gonna put up just a couple low lights in the fringe area. I don't wanna deepen that too much because I really wanna have that pop in the front. So we won't add too much there because I don't wanna diffuse it too much. I wanna have that brightness. And because we're working in a fringe area, you know, it's not gonna be so much that money piece feel, but just a little bit brighter. So I always like to take that into consideration. What type of haircut is happening and how is this color gonna look on the haircut? Okay, I'm gonna take another section here. Also, something to keep in mind, when I'm mixing up my lightener, because it's a lot to get through a whole head, I am actually mixing up a little bit at a time. So I'm taking my Elite powder with 20 volume, and I'm usually mixing up about 30 grams of Elite powder to 2 parts developer. So about 90 grams total. And then what I'll do is, as I run out, if I need to, I will remix, but I try to do that so that I can keep up the strength of the lightener. And to be honest, once you get through the hairline, customizing the hairline for the client, everything else kind of falls into place, really. Like, it doesn't take me too long to get through this application, as long as I'm focused. Okay. So I'm gonna continue foiling. And I'm almost out of lightener. So that means about 30 grams was the perfect amount of powder for me to get through my hairline. And then I'll focus in on the next sections, the next 2 sections, with my next 30 grams. So now I can see that the length is actually starting to get longer because I'm heading towards the back. So now here's where I'm gonna add in my low light to help diffuse. And then I'm gonna just tip out the rest with the lightener. And then I'm gonna fold my foil over the lightener, not to get it mixed up with my demi. And then I'm gonna close that up. Very easy like that. Now my last foil that lays on top is going to be lightener, because I wanna make sure that you'll get a veil of that. However, you're gonna do a little bit of a back comb here because we wanna keep that nice and subtle. so we have a nice soft line. Then I'm going to lay that down, make sure the back comb is out of the way. And I'm going to go ahead and just softly lay that in there. And then close that up. Same thing, I'll do a double fold in the front through the fringe area so that we make sure that the client can see. And now we're going to head to the top sections. And they are going to start basically from the back of the ear heading to the top. And we'll start actually going horizontally through this section, and then we'll mirror on the opposite side. Now that we've foiled the other side, we are going to start on the opposite side, and we're going to do the same thing. We're actually going to start with a diagonal back to blend our highlights from the front to the middle. And I'm going to actually just adjust my stand just a little bit. I was not blessed with a tall jean. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just take a nice fine baby light, and that's going to be what blends from the front to the back. We go ahead and foil in there. And what I'm doing is we're probably going to do about 2 highlights to 1 diffuse. So we're going to take another section, and now I'm going to start working horizontal. I'm going to take another baby light, and throughout this whole process, these are all going to be baby lights, so nice and fine. Okay. Now that I've done 2, now my next one I think is the one that I'm going to diffuse right here. So I'm going to go ahead, take a nice weave, and then I'm going to add a little bit of my low light, bringing that down. And what I like to do is I'll actually drag the low light a little bit further down, heading towards the back, and then it's a little bit higher in the front. And that's so that you just get a nice blend from the front to the back. Okay, I'll close that one up. Very easy. And then what I'll do is I'll do 2 more highlights. And those will head up to the top of the head. Now, just a couple tips that I can think of when I'm doing this. I'm always making sure that I try and keep my subsections as clean as possible so that my work is going to be neat and tidy. Also, it will help me be a little more effective when I'm kind of getting through the application itself. So here's another nice fine weave. And then I'm going to keep going up the head. And then my next one, I'll diffuse. And then what we'll do is we'll speed it up so that we get to the top, so you guys aren't watching the same thing throughout. We finished up the top section. Now we're heading to work through the back. I've taken a nice triangular section, and this is what we're going to work off of. And what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be placing my foils on that diagonal this way, and then on the diagonal of the other side to meet in the middle here. And this shouldn't take more than probably, I would say, about 8 foils. I'm thinking maybe 4 on either side, but really just tying the front to the back. So I'm going to kind of work through this, and you guys will get to kind of see how quickly that moves. So I'm going to take a slice, about 1/4 of an inch subsection, and then I'm going to go ahead, and I actually need to mix up a little bit more, but I'm going to go ahead and take a nice fine baby light here. So we're back. Hi everyone, welcome back to Highlight and Diffuse. This is our finished product. This is our model, and we were really able to create dimension within her hair that's subtle and beautiful with a little bit more brightness around the face. One of the things that I really love about this particular look is that I didn't do any shadowing, nothing to really kind of kill the highlights down. This is actually the natural finish, as well as no toning, no any of that stuff. So you're really able to see the difference. Now what I did is I actually grabbed the similar girl so that you guys could kind of see her base in comparison to our new girl. And you can see that the dimension is so pretty. It's still rich, it's still very warm, and it's beautiful. So what you're gonna see, I'm gonna turn her a little bit. You're gonna see that there is depth throughout the back, and then as you move forward, you're getting a lot more brightness through the front and then through the middle. And then as you're heading to the back, you're seeing all this depth. So it really creates this beautiful contrast that's subtle, and it can be worn and it grows out great. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed Highlight and Diffuse. I look forward to seeing you guys very soon. Till next time, thank you.